Power shifted, secrets came out. And just when we thought the dust had settled, everything changed again. The final moments of the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 8 left fans speechless and asking one question: what does this all mean? If you felt that ending was filled with hidden messages, unspoken truths, and emotional explosions beneath the surface, you're not alone. Let's break down what really happened and why this finale is one of the most layered endings the series has given us so far. Asterisk, as Episode 8 begins, we find ourselves right in the middle of high tension. The social season is closing, and so are many of the characters' personal arcs. Bertha Russell is still fighting tooth and nail to stay at the top of New York society, while Marian Brook faces yet another difficult decision about her future. Meanwhile, George Russell is dealing with consequences from his aggressive expansion in the steel business. All of this sets the stage for a finale filled with tough choices and turning points. One of the biggest storylines driving the episode is Bertha's ongoing battle with Mrs. Astor. Earlier in the season, Bertha finally gained entry into the opera house, but her grip on power is not as strong as it once seemed. As the episode progresses, Bertha finds herself being challenged by newer faces in society. These women aren't afraid to speak their minds or question tradition. In response, Bertha doubles down. She hosts an extravagant final event, hoping to reassert her dominance. But the results are not what she expected. At the same time, Marian is being pulled in different directions. Her heart seems to be leading her one way, while her head pulls her in another. Her relationship with Dashiell Montgomery has lost its charm, and she knows it. But instead of making a clear decision, she keeps stalling, hoping something will change. The episode gives us subtle clues that Marian is starting to feel trapped, not just by Dashiell, but by the expectations placed on her as a woman in high society. George Russell is also at a crossroads. His steel business has faced opposition from workers and regulators, and in this episode, we see him under real pressure. For the first time in a while, he seems unsure. His usual confidence is shaken as he realizes that growing too fast might come at a cost, not just financially, but ethically. He shares a tense conversation with Bertha where we see the cracks in their partnership. They've always supported each other, but now we see small signs of disagreement that could grow into something much bigger. And finally, Peggy Scott's storyline continues to grow in importance. She's no longer just a supporting voice in Marian's life. In this episode, she attends a powerful gathering focused on Black civil rights and journalism. Her words are sharp, and her purpose is clear. Peggy is becoming a voice for change, and the show is beginning to show us her rise as more than just a personal assistant or friend. Her writing and her voice are gaining attention, and it's clear that the show is setting her up for a much larger role. All of these plots come together in the final act of the episode. While not every storyline is given closure, each one is pushed to a moment of tension or release. It's a slow burn, but that's what the Gilded Age does best. It's a drama. Simmers until it can't be contained anymore. And then, in those final few minutes, it explodes. But to understand that ending fully, we need to look deeper at what really happened in those closing scenes. That's what we'll cover next. Asterisk, some endings whisper, as one thundered. The final 10 minutes of the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 8 didn't just tie loose ends, they pulled the thread and unraveled a whole new set of questions. Everything we thought we understood about these characters shifted in quiet glances, sudden choices, and one bold move that could change the entire power dynamic of Season 4. Let's look closely at how it all unfolded. Moment by moment, we begin at Bertha Russell's long-anticipated winter ball, a grand display meant to cement her place at the very top of New York society. The chandeliers sparkle, the gowns dazzle, and every guest is carefully chosen. But beneath the glitter, Bertha is clearly tense. The guest list took careful planning. She made sure Mrs. Astor would be there. She even arranged for an unexpected royal visitor, the Duke of Buckingham, to attend, knowing how it would shift public perception. Everything is designed to make one statement. Bertha Russell is not just wealthy, she's untouchable. But then something unexpected happens. The Duke, despite all the attention, doesn't give Bertha the full public approval she was hoping for. Instead, he spends more time speaking with a rival hostess. It's a small moment, just a few lines of polite conversation, but it speaks volumes. Dawn. In a world where reputation is everything, the Duke's indifference is a quiet humiliation. For Bertha, she smiles through it, but you can see it in her eyes. She's been outmaneuvered, if only slightly. And in the Gilded Age, slightly is everything. Elsewhere at the party, Marian faces her moment of truth. Dashiell approaches her with plans for their future, and for a few seconds it seems she might give in. She's been drifting through this relationship for episodes now, hoping for clarity. But here, finally, Marian does something she hasn't done in a long time. She listens to herself. Instead of agreeing to marry him, she politely pulls away. No dramatic outburst, just quiet strength. A firm final no. It's a rare moment of control in a world that keeps trying to control her. And it's one of the most important character shifts of the episode. Meanwhile, downstairs, George Russell is holding his own court. He steps outside to speak with one of his Steel executives who brings troubling news. A rival company has undercut their deal, and their stock might fall. George takes a moment, processing the hit. Instead of reacting with anger like we've seen him do in the past, he responds with calm calculation. This is a different George than we met in Season 1, one who now understands that brute force won't solve every problem. He's playing the long game now. This shift might be what keeps him in power next season, but the most powerful scene might belong to Peggy Scott. She's not at the ball. Instead, we see her in a much quieter setting, a meeting of black journalists and activists. The contrast is striking. While the elite are dancing under crystal chandeliers, Peggy is helping plan real change. She reads aloud a passage from her latest column, calling for dignity, justice, and equal rights. And for the first time, she's not just speaking, people are listening. The camera lingers on her face, full of purpose, while others chase social status. Peggy is chasing something much more lasting: progress. The episode ends without a single explosion, but with something even stronger: momentum. Bertha's crown is slipping. Marian is walking her own path. George is shifting his tactics. Peggy is stepping into the spotlight. These aren't just endings, they're launches. And everything is now set for a very different, possibly more dangerous Season 4. The next section will look at how each of these characters transformed during this episode and what it means for their future. Let's break it down character by character. Asterisk, not all battles are fought in public. In the Gilded Age, the fiercest wars happen behind closed doors, in glances, gestures, and decisions no one sees coming. While the grand finale dazzled with ballrooms and whispers, the real power shifts took place inside the hearts and minds of its characters. This episode didn't just conclude storylines, it carved new identities. Let's begin with Bertha Russell. For 2 seasons, she's been climbing a staircase built on pride, diamonds, and ruthless strategy. But in Episode 8, something rare happened. Bertha didn't win. She looked the part. She smiled. She triumphed, but it wasn't real. The Duke's lukewarm attention, the subtle shade from Mrs. Astor, and the quiet chatter behind her back, they all reminded her of one truth she hates more than anything: power can be borrowed, but never owned. And Bertha, for the first time, felt that. She didn't collapse, but she cracked. The woman who once commanded rooms with her confidence now stands in a space she doesn't fully control. Her transformation is not about defeat. It's about awakening. She now knows that status is fragile. That realization will either make her more dangerous or more desperate. Then there's Marian Brook. For most of this season, she's been floating, caught between tradition and freedom, expectations and intuition. But this finale changed her. She finally broke free from the quiet spell of Dashiell Montgomery, a relationship that offered safety but demanded silence. Saying no wasn't just a romantic choice, it was a rebellion. Marian is no longer the young woman waiting for life to happen. She's beginning to shape her own. The way she handled the moment, calmly, without drama, proved that her strength doesn't need to be loud. She is learning how to say no with grace, and that might be the most dangerous thing. a woman can do in her world. George Russell, meanwhile, is adapting. This episode forced him to look beyond the numbers. The powerful businessman who once ruled with iron confidence now sees the cracks in the system he built. His conversation on the terrace revealed something critical. He's not just playing for profit anymore. He's playing for legacy. George has always believed in dominance. But now, as public scrutiny grows and rival industries fight back, he seems to realize that legacy built on fear won't last. This new George is more thoughtful. That makes him unpredictable, and unpredictability in business and drama is deadly. And finally, Peggy Scott. This was her moment of arrival. Not with fanfare, not with applause, but with purpose. While others sought validation from high society, Peggy found her voice among real people with real causes. Her passion isn't a subplot anymore, it's a central force. She didn't just attend the meeting, she led it. Her words echoed with the weight of experience and the courage of someone who refuses to stay silent. The Gilded Age isn't just letting her grow, it's positioning her as a revolutionary. And the beauty of her arc is that while others chased status, she chased truth. And truth, in time, changes everything. In just one episode, these characters shifted, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. They were pushed, cornered, exposed, and in those tight spaces, their real selves began to emerge. Some will rise. Others may fall, but none of them will be the same. Next, we'll dive into the quiet details, the glances, the costumes, the silent symbols that told their own story in this dramatic finale. Asterisk sometimes. The loudest lines in the Gilded Age aren't spoken. They're stitched into a gown, tucked behind a stare, or glinting faintly in a champagne glass. While the plot pushes the story forward, it's the quiet, symbolic choices, the background details most viewers miss that give the finale its depth. The real language of power in this show isn't just dialogue. It's design. Take Bertha Russell's dress at the Winter Ball. From a distance, it's a showstopper, heavy gold embroidery, pearls layered like armor. But look closer, and the fabric tells a deeper story. It's stiffer than her past looks, colder, even more metallic. It doesn't flow, it holds. And that's exactly where Bertha is right now. Not flowing with society, but holding her place in it with sheer force. Even her crown-like tiara, more regal than ever, seems almost too large. Dum-dum da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But it doesn't quite belong. Just like her position at the top of New York's elite. Now compare that to Mrs. Astor. Dressed in lighter tones, more relaxed silhouettes. She doesn't have to prove anything anymore. Her power is quiet, understated because it's been earned over generations. Costume here becomes conversation. Bertha screams status, Astor whispers it. The wardrobe tells us who is chasing power, and who already owns it. Another moment rich in symbolism is Marian's exit from Dashiell's shadow. When she turns down his offer, the camera lingers not on their faces, but on the space between them. That visual distance speaks louder than any argument could. Even the lighting changes. Marian steps away from the warm glow of the chandelier into a cooler, softer light, a signal that she's stepping out of society's expectations and into her own clarity. It's subtle, but deliberate. George Russell's meeting on the terrace is another carefully built scene. Unlike the ornate interiors of the ball, the terrace is sparse, open, vulnerable. This setting strips George of the armor he wears inside the crowd, the luxury, the distraction. Out here, he's forced to face reality. His dialogue is short, his gaze is downward. The chill in the air mirrors the cooling confidence we're seeing in him. Even the iron railings around the terrace seem to cage him slightly, reminding us that even the richest man in the room can feel trapped. Then there's Peggy Scott's typewriter. It isn't shown often, but when it is, it's lit like a symbol of rebellion. She doesn't wear jewels or dance under chandeliers. Power sits in her words. In this episode, the ink on her paper feels heavier, as if every word she writes is pressing not just on the page, but on the world around her. The meeting scene she attends is small, dimly lit, and plain. and yet it carries more gravity than the entire winter ball. That's not a coincidence. The show is quietly telling us that real change doesn't sparkle, it builds in the shadows. Even the music in the final act shifts. The waltzes fade, we begin to hear deeper strings, more tension beneath the notes. The elegance remains on the surface, but something beneath it is turning. The score tells us what the characters can't say out loud, that the party is ending. Something far more serious is beginning. These hidden details, the clothes, the light, the settings, the music are what give the episode its layers. They whisper to the audience, guiding us toward what's really happening, even when the dialogue stays polite. That's the genius of the Gilded Age. It never tells you everything, it lets you feel it. Up next, we'll look at what all these shifts and symbols are setting up the big question: what comes next in Season 4? Asterisk, every party ends. But the silence after is where the real story begins. The final scenes of Episode 8 didn't just close doors, they cracked new ones open. While some characters danced, others drifted. Some held on to power, others watched it slip through their fingers. And beneath all the sparkle, the Gilded Age quietly planted the seeds of conflict, ambition, and change. Season 3 didn't just end. It passed the torch to something bigger, bolder, and far less polite. Let's take a look at what's waiting just outside the ballroom first. There's a storm brewing in society itself. The lines between old money and new money are no longer clean. Bertha Russell is proof of that. She clawed her way in, but at what cost? With her social position now unstable, Season 4 might explore how far she's willing to go to keep it. And if the power she built begins to crumble, we may see her become even more calculating. Her rivals are smarter now. The game is more crowded. The gloves may finally come off. Then there's Marian, who stepped into her independence quietly, but her journey is far from over. She chose herself over comfort, over security, over expectation. That's brave, but also risky. The question going forward is, what now? She's rejected the life she was raised to accept. Will she carve out a new place in society, or walk away from it entirely? There's room now for her to explore her own career, voice, maybe even love on her terms. But in a world built to box women in, her freedom might come at a price. George Russell, once unstoppable, is now facing serious threats. Financial instability, labor pressure, and shifting political winds are all closing in. But the biggest threat may come from inside his own home. We saw hints of tension between him and Bertha, small but noticeable. Season 4 could pull that thread. If they stop seeing eye to eye, the most powerful couple in New York might become each other's biggest obstacle. And George, for all his strength, may soon have to choose between success and his own moral limits. But the most exciting setup belongs to Peggy Scott. Her storyline is no longer running beside the others, it's driving forward. The final scene showed her not as an observer, but as a leader. Her voice matters now, and that shift opens up a whole new chapter for the series. Journalism, politics, race, and reform, all of these threads are converging in her story. Season 4 may put her in the middle of real historical movements, giving the show not just drama, but weight. Peggy's rise isn't just personal, it's cultural. Beyond the characters, the world itself is changing. The Gilded Age, as a time period, is moving toward unrest. The wealth gap is growing, the whispers of worker rebellion are getting louder, and the glamour is beginning to fade. We've seen the surface, the mansions, the gowns, the formal dinners, but now the cracks beneath that surface are showing. Season 4 might take us deeper into that shift, away from just who's hosting the next ball, and toward who's being left outside. Everything about the ending points to a more volatile future. The show has spent 3 seasons building this tower of status and ambition. Season 4 might finally shake its foundations. When it does, some will fall. Coming up next, we'll look at what all this change really means. Not just in plot, but in theme. The ideas of power, identity, and A legacy that this finale left us with, and why it matters? Asterisk, when the music fades and the lights dim, what remains? Not the flowers, not the gowns. What's left is the question behind every whispered conversation and every polished smile. What is all this really for? The Gilded Age has always been more than a story about wealth and fashion. It's a mirror. And in the final moments of Season 3, Episode 8, that mirror turned toward something deeper: power, identity, and the cost of climbing. This wasn't just the end of a season. It was a quiet challenge to every character, and to us, watching at its core. This finale asked a hard question. Who are you when no one's clapping? Bertha, who spent the season fighting to belong, finally got everything she wanted: the ball, the guests, the title. But it didn't satisfy her. The applause didn't fill the silence. And in that silence, she looked unsure. Maybe for the first time. That's the cost of building your life on someone else's approval. Never really feels safe. Marian's choice to walk away from comfort, from a man who offered her an easy life, wasn't just a romantic decision. It was a declaration that she wants more than safety, more than social acceptance. Her quiet rebellion says something big. Being free is worth the risk. In a time when women were expected to smile and settle, Marian's no felt louder than any. Yes, George's journey too carries meaning beyond business. He's a man used to winning. But this episode showed the limits of power when it's built only on control. His moment of pause on the terrace where he looked out into the cold, uncertain night reminded us that even the strongest people face doubt. And sometimes, the most important growth happens in those private, unspoken moments. The ones without deals, or speeches, or champagne. But maybe the boldest message came from Peggy Scott. While others hosted parties, she held conversations. While others clung to status, she built influence. Her arc reflects a larger truth about history that the voices often pushed aside are the ones who later move the world forward. Peggy is not chasing elegance. She's chasing change. And in doing so, the show is asking us to consider what really lasts. But words, action, courage, those echo longer than any waltz in a ballroom zooming out. This finale marked a shift in the show's soul. It's no longer just about who gets invited. It's about who matters. The Gilded Age began by showing us gates and guards, who's in, who's out. And now it's opening those gates, or at least rattling them. This change is subtle, but powerful. We're moving from a story about acceptance to a story about disruption. And that's what makes this ending feel so important. It's not wrapping things up, it's waking things up. What this episode leaves us with isn't a conclusion. A pulse. A sense that something is coming, something louder, riskier, more honest. The age of decoration is ending. The age of confrontation is just beginning. In the final section, we'll open the floor to you, your reactions, your questions, and what you want to see when Season 4 arrives. Asterisk, the Gilded Age Season 3 didn't end with answers. It ended with openings. And now the next chapter belongs just as much to you as it does to the writers. So here's the question. What do you think it all means? Was Bertha's quiet defeat the beginning of her downfall? Marian finally stepped into her own future. Will George choose legacy over loyalty? And is Peggy becoming the true heart of this story? Let us know what you noticed. The glances, the choices, and the lines that hit you harder than expected. Did something feel unfinished or perfectly placed? Drop your theories, favorite scenes, or predictions for Season 4 in the comments. The more wild, the better. This show lives in the details, and you might have caught something the rest of us missed. If this breakdown helped you see the finale in a new light,
I'll give the video a
like, it lets us know you want more deep dives like this one. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss a beat when we cover the next big episode, reveal, or twist. The Gilded Age may be set in the past, but the stories it tells about power, identity, and the quiet strength of choosing your own path feel more current than ever. Thanks for watching. Now the floor is yours.